It's just a really cool.
Actually, a drone would be good. A drone would show you quite the...
Down the hill, you mean?
Yeah.
Wow, that covers that very fast, even the gooseneck.
Oh, sorry, this one. So we're in what's called Unit 1. Yeah.
So they needed that.
The bit you often see is this bit. That's the bit that's sort of all nice and shiny and put on the mantelpiece. That's the cartridge. That's just the bit that shoots the shell out of the artillery. So inside that shell, you would have you'd have spaghetti.
Feed the Germans.
Yeah. I'm covering up. It's not fit. So, but you have a thing called cordite, which looks like a bit like spaghetti, and that would go in here. And the idea of that is a bit like a NASA rocket. You don't want your rocket to explode. You want it to get it in the air, and then the bit at the top is the bit that you really want to actually get there. But the first part of it is really just to give it that push to get in the air in the first place. So that bit's made of brass, and that bit, as I understand it, gets shot out of the gun and gets reused. This part is the bit that actually delivers the explosive. So that's what you're seeing there, and here it would have been high explosive. I don't expect you to be experts on explosives, but during the First World War there were two main types of explosive. TNT is probably the best known, but what they were using here was a thing called lyddite. Lyddite no jewellery at all, no metals on them, not even any sort of fastenings, anything that could have been metal. The pipe here, if you imagine a school classroom today, maybe the older school classrooms, you quite often get the heating pipes running around near the base of the wall. Couldn't have it near the base of the wall in case you had spillage, so you put it up high, so it actually goes higher than the level of the door. You don't see the door here, but so that's the heating pipe. The floor, it would have been wooden houses with like a linoleum type floor. So you definitely didn't have concrete floors. They learned that one, and yeah, they had to be incredibly careful. But you make a good point. Thinking of the shells, if you've got a shell that you pour, metal shell that you're pouring picric acid into, you don't want that to react. So how do you get around that? You have to somehow create a barrier between the picric acid and the iron shell, and that's where the tin comes in. So very grainy, but
Yeah, I can see
it's
the
a pretty
tracks.
substantial embankment. Do you see? I don't see where the top of the embankment is there, but it's about sort of 3 meters above us. So it's pretty substantial, and that's after some erosion. Obviously, it would have been higher still. So as we go around the site, you'll get your eye in, and you'll see, oh, there's a ridge here, there's a hollow here, and generally where there's a long straight hollow, that's where there's either a tramway or if it's much wider, it's one of the actual railway lines.
Of Flowers of St Mary's Churchyard talk last week, and it was brought home to us how pernicious and
that's the northern end of the site. We came in from here. But the other thing I mentioned was using lasers. There's a technique used called LiDAR. Did anyone come across it? Yeah. So it's basically you shoot lasers down and it goes through the vegetation and it picks up it picks out the structures on the ground, but it takes away all this vegetation and you get a much clearer picture of what's going on. So based on those, can you tell where we are now? Come on, you got all this information.
Somewhere around.
Yeah, that's good. So if
Where are we now?
Banbury, Scotland.
the ball.
See that bright white line there is the cutting for the railway line. Correct. Medieval bridge and furrow. The interesting thing is, in the middle of the site, there's still medieval ridge and furrow, and that's because, like, unlike today, where if you were building a factory, you'd probably just completely level it. And something to bear in mind is that even if you're in a First World War side or medieval side, it is as it was meant to be, but they tweaked it slightly between the architect's plans and the final buildings.
And do these 22 factories that were built, do they all follow a similar, is there some modular thing going on? And
to some extent, yes.
Yeah.
But not all of them. But there was a model that was
same architects involved. And
not necessarily the same architects, but working to a similar plan. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I have heard that the plan for this one came from a pre-existing explosives factory in Newcastle upon Tyne.